Perfect. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. It's going to be an exciting evening. Thank you, everyone, for your interest in the redistricting process. My name is Jamie Kruger, and I'm part of the digital services team here at the City of Orlando. I'm going to try to keep this training session to about an hour, so please put any questions in the chat, and I will do my best to get to them at the end. We will be recording this webinar to post later on our Redistricting Hub at orlando.gov/redistricting. If anything, please remember this URL. It's going to have a lot of great information for you. This page collects everything you need to know about the process, including all the different ways in which you can give us feedback. Just going to do a quick recap on what redistricting is. Over time, communities and populations change, and to ensure each of our 6 districts continue to represent an equal number of residents, we go through this regular process called redistricting so that we can fairly readjust the lines of districts in accordance with population shifts. To fairly redraw new district borders, we follow these principles here. You can mainly think of it as Orlando has 6 districts, and ideally each district would be about 1/6 of the total city population, so about 51,262 people each. We will have a little bit of wiggle room here. The difference or range between the largest and smallest districts cannot exceed 10% in the redistricting process. So that means between the largest and smallest district, the difference cannot be more than 5,126 people. You'll also see the term maximum deviation used in this context. Don't worry about keeping any of these numbers in your head. The mapping software will keep track of that population for you, as well as most of the other criteria, which is a little bit easier to visualize. So as we do redistricting, as I've already mentioned, we want to make sure all of our new district borders are equal in population. We want for each district them to be contiguous. So that means all parts in the district should be connected. Ideally, your district shapes should be compact, so try to think of rectangular shapes as much as possible versus strange, multi-star type of shapes. We want to avoid favoring or disfavoring any political party. We try to keep our district borders along streets and natural boundaries. We want to keep neighborhoods together. We want to keep communities of interest together. And we want to maintain the core areas of prior districts versus starting completely from scratch. A little bit about the tool you're going to see tonight. The ArcGIS mapping tool. GIS stands for Geographic Information System. Basically, this is just software that is gathering, storing, analyzing, and displaying maps. The City of Orlando uses software called ArcGIS, which is created by a company called Environmental Systems Research Institute, or ESRI for short. Basically, you'll be using the same tool as us. If you need help, again, visit that URL, orlando.gov/redistricting. We will have a software guide posted with lots of screen caps, plus a calendar of open houses where you can come in person to get help on the tool. Just as a reminder, your maps are due May 2nd at 5 p.m. And we also invite you to present your maps at one of the Redistricting Board's public meetings. So again, please take note of this URL, orlando.gov/redistricting. And now let's dive into the tool itself. So I am going to start on the page that I just told you. So redistricting will take us to our hub right here. So if you scroll down, you will click on Give Us Feedback. This is a page that describes multiple different ways in which you can give your feedback and participate in the process. For now, we're going to skip ahead to step number 3, which is creating the map. But we would love for you to do all the other forms of feedback outlined here. Clicking through, you will see a refresher on mapping criteria. You will see a link to our software guide and also dates for our open houses in March. But let's skip ahead to step number 4 and go straight to the software. So here we are at ArcGIS. As a reminder, this is a free tool, requires no download on your part. You will need to set up an account to save and submit maps. It is this red link right here. Esri's password requirements can be a little tough, so you might want your browser to suggest and save a strong password as you sign up. Now, I've already created an account for myself. So I'm going to log in. Don't worry if you forget your password, you can always reset it later with this link right here called Forgot Your Password. So I'm going to click sign in. I get a pop-up and I have my credentials pre-populated, so I'm just going to click sign in. All right, we're in. There is a lot going on in the interface, so let me walk you through the screen. At the top here, in this orange bar in this gray area, are our toolbars. We call this the ribbon. You can click through the tabs and hover over buttons to see what they do. So just some examples right here of the tooltips. In this area below, we have the map. The current district boundaries with census data are already preloaded for you. You can zoom in with the mouse wheel, or you can use the plus and minus zoom buttons here in the corner of the map. As you zoom in, you will be able to see the individual census blocks. When you draw new boundaries, they will snap to these little blocks here. So if you draw a shape and it's a little unexpected, it's because of this snapping behavior. I suggest zooming in so that you can comfortably see all of the little blocks. Underneath this map is the district window. This window has population data for each district. A few key numbers. We have one column here with total population for the district. So you can see District 1 currently has over 67,000 people. This next column is the target deviation. That is how much over or under the current district has from that ideal 1/6 of the total city population. You can see that District 1 is over by 15,901 people, and the other districts are under our target deviation. These remaining columns here have data for different racial and ethnic demographics. When you are redrawing your new maps, these numbers will change as you change your mapping borders. So use these numbers to help balance your districts evenly. You will be balancing all 6 districts, so please give yourself time. Luckily, you will be able to save your progress and come back later. If the map is overwhelming in its current state, you can toggle a lot of the visual layers. First, there is this very tiny arrow to the left of the map in this gray sidebar. This is a convenient way to toggle different landmarks on the map. Let me zoom out slightly. So you have these reference layers and you can open and you can toggle certain landmarks on and off. If you don't like the colors for the districts, you can change those as well. So if you hover over a color swatch here in this district window, you can change it. So let's change the color of District 5 real quick. So clicking on that swatch pulls up a pop-up, and I'm going to change it from its light purple to a darker purple and hit OK. And now my map color has changed. The View tab in your ribbon, I'm going to close our little layer pop-up real quick. Our View tab up here in the ribbon also has some useful features. This checkbox here, Show Target Values, puts a new column in the district window with your target population. That's that 1/6 ideal population for each district. So you can see that number as a comparison to each district's current values. These next set of checkboxes here in these 2 columns, I suggest toggling them one by one to see what you like. You can see here, for example, the difference between using color to show borders and using color to fill in the entire district boundaries. This next button here, deviation coloring, I find very useful. It's a little visual cue for if your population numbers are too high or too low from our 10% deviation allowance. I'm going to click it for a pop-up and set the settings to show on our district labels so we can see what is over and under when the map changes. So you can see we have two new colors here. You can see that District 2, the label is now in red, so that shows it is currently under our standard deviation of 10%, and District 1 is in green, indicating that it's over. In your final map, you do not want either of these colors to display in the labels. And just as a quick side note, any examples I show you today are just demos of the software. My examples are not recommendations or endorsements for any new maps. Okay, so we're starting to make changes here. So let's save our map so we save our process. Don't worry, you're not overriding anyone's work. For your first save, click File, the File tab in the ribbon, and then you want to click Save As. So give your map and name a description. Don't worry, you will be able to change this later. When you're done, hit OK. Give it a moment to save, and now it's complete. Now, whenever you want to save your work, you can hit the Save button here under the File tab in the ribbon, or you can hit the smaller Save button that is always going to be in this little orange toolbar at the top. I suggest saving often in case your internet connection has a hiccup. Of course, you can save and open, using the Open button, multiple maps. If you ever need to reload it, the default map, by the way, is called Orlando Redistricting Template. You can click on that and open it if you want to start from fresh, or you can always load one of your previous maps. And here you can see all the test maps that I made earlier today. I'm going to cancel this now. Oh, one other thing of note, you will also see a button here called Save Local. This saves a copy directly to your computer so that you can share it with a friend. This person can then load it by going to the Open button and clicking Open Local Plan. You don't need to save your maps in this way to send it to us. You will not be emailing your maps to us. This software has a Submit tab right here, which will be the official way in which you'll send maps over. So you can keep all of your files here in the cloud if you want to. All right, so now let's go to the Create tab in the ribbon. This is where you will be spending most of your time. In the middle of the ribbon right here are some zoom and pan tools. You can click on a zoom magnifying glass and click on the map to zoom in and out. You can also click and drag with the zoom tools to zoom in or out of a specific area. And remember too, if you have a mouse wheel, that mouse wheel does the same thing as clicking and zooming. To pan around the map, you're going to want to click this little hand icon, and this lets you click and move around on the map so that you can move up and down, left and right. All right, so let's start fiddling with the map. Here's why making a map can take some time. To build your redistricting plan, you will be reassigning parts of districts to one or more other districts. For example, you might be moving a neighborhood from District 2 to District 1, or you might be moving a few streets from District 6 to District 4. To build your plan, you need to select each district one by one on the map and then reassign one or more of the census blocks, which, if you recall, are these small little jigsaw-like puzzle pieces. They're different geographies. You might find yourself rapidly switching between districts as you redraw boundaries, so always make sure you know which district you're currently working on, and I will show you that next. You can choose the district that you will be adding to from this drop-down right beneath the word Create in the ribbon. So let me grab District 1. And I'm going to pan over slightly so we can see it better. Now, when I click on District 1 from my drop-down, it also highlights it here in the district information window. So yep, right there, it's gray. I know that I'm currently working on it. You can, of course, also click on a district row here in the district window, and you will note it's been updated in the dropdown under the Create tab. So you can change districts through clicking on the names here in this window or changing on the dropdowns. All right, so I'm going to play around with District 4. So let me choose that from my dropdown, and I'm going to, well, no, I like this soon. All right, perfect. Now, there are 4 different mapping tools here under the district dropdown that we just looked at. So let's take a look at them one by one. This first tool, the best way to think of it is like those classic paint by number kits. You will be selecting each of these little, jigsaw style census blocks that you want, and you will add it to your active district. So I'm going to click on that tool, and I am going to choose a few blocks from District 1 to add to District 4. So as I click on them, you will notice that they're changing colors. Also note how my population stats in the district window are changing. District 1 is getting more population added. Sorry, District 4 is getting more population added, and District 1 is getting population taken away. By the way, if you make a mistake, there are little blue undo arrows right here underneath the dropdown. And as you click them, you will see now everything I've added, I've moved from District 1 to District 4 is being removed. By the way, once you're using this various little map assignment tools, this is another reminder that you'll no longer be able to click and drag on the map anymore to pan around up and down, left and right. It will think you are trying to add to your current active district. If you need to move around the map, remember to go back to the little hand here so that you can adjust the map, and then you can go back to your selection tool. Next is our rectangle tool. And this is really going to show off how the map snaps to the different census blocks. Let me add some blocks from District 2 by clicking and dragging. So I'm drawing a rectangle. The important thing to remember is any block my rectangle encompasses gets added to my active district. So watch District 2 as it gets, these zones here get added to District 4. So you can see some surprising results if you are not zoomed in far enough. Now, let's say I added too much of District 2 to District 4. Let me switch back to District 2 to make it active. Now I'm going to go back to that first block picker tool that I showed you, and I'm going to shift some of these blocks from District 4, and I'm going to reassign them back to District 2. So you can see my map updating, and you can see my district numbers updating. There you go. So this is a really good example of how you're going to be going back and forth between districts. We have 2 other drawing tools to take a look at. Next is the Polygon tool. This is very similar to the rectangle, only we can draw a more complex shape. The same rules abide here. So any block my shape that I draw touches will get added to my active district. So I'm going to switch back to District 4 because this is what I want to add blocks to. And I'm going to add some blocks from District 5 and 6. So I'm just going to click and click and click. You can see my shape drawing. And when I'm done, I'm going to double click. Give the map a moment to think. Oh, I accidentally slipped on my mouse. I'm going to do that one more time. There we go. So now you can see that everything that my unique shape touched has now been added to District 4. And this is another good example of my little warning labels also updating as I draw the map. You can see now here that District 4 is over our deviation and District 6 is under. I am going to undo that step with our undo arrow just to make things a little bit easier. We have one more tool to take a look at. It is this line tool. This is the same deal essentially as our polygon and rectangle tool. I'm going to borrow some blocks from District 5, and any blocks touched by my line will get added to my active district. To activate this, I draw my line just by clicking, and then I double click at the end, and it is gone and added those blocks to the other district. Again, I want to undo this to simplify training a little bit later. Now, you will notice an unassigned kind of pseudo district down here, default in blue. You can use this. This is not real geography. You can use this to collect any blocks that you're not quite sure what to do with yet. Just remember that they will eventually have to go somewhere, so keep an eye on your map and the district window. Right now, we have nothing that has been added to that unassigned district. As you make your map, now you might want to take a deeper dive into stats. And that's where the review tab here in the ribbon comes into play. So let's take a look at that next. The histogram over here is a great way to compare total populations as well as demographic numbers. So I'm going to click on that. So you'll see here all of our districts are compared on this little bar chart. You can hover over bars to see details, and you can pull down and look at specific stats as they apply across all of the districts. So here is demographics of the white population amongst all of our districts. I'm going to close this little X here to close out on those maps. Plan distribution, this next button, we're going to switch over to pie charts now. This is very similar data. This is just a different way to slice and dice these numbers. You can hover over pie wedges for details. Let's close this and look at the next one. District distribution. We'll get a little pop-up first asking which district we want to take a look at. So let's take a look at District 3. This is a way that we can drill down to racial and ethnic demographics just for a single district. And you can switch amongst all of your districts here. So again, this is just various data pulled from the census if you want to take a look at that. Our next button, check integrity, is going to be very important. This is how to know if your map is valid and ready to be sent to the board. Let's click on it. You can run this check whenever you want, and it will also automatically run as part of the final submission process. So we have a few test failures here, and let's diagnose those and get a better understanding of how this tool works. So our first check here is the dual assignment check. This makes sure that blocks are not assigned to multiple districts. A geography can only belong to one district. Our next check is the population summary check. It ensures that the population of our districts correctly add up to the city total. Basically, we don't want to leave anyone out. Our next check is the district count check. This makes sure that all of our districts have at least one block assigned. What this is saying is we are going to be mapping six districts, no more, no less. Our next check is the maximum deviation check. This ensures that all of our districts' populations are balanced as per that 10% rule. You're probably going to be spending most of your time getting this one to work out. We failed this check, so if we click on it on the details button, it will show us which districts are throwing the error. So we can see here districts 1 and 2 are outside of our allowable deviation. Our next check is the overall range check. This ensures that all district populations are within our allowable target population range. We also have a null assignment check. This makes sure that all blocks are assigned to a district. This is just another way to make sure nothing's been left out. And then the last one is a connectivity check. This makes sure that all parts of a district are connected to all other parts of itself. If this one gives you problems, zooming in on a map, on the map again might help. You might have some gaps in your district map that you're just not able to see when you're zoomed out. There's a lot of overlap in these tests, so fixing one test often fixes others. And here's 3 things to keep in mind if you're getting these validation errors. So number 1, are there any blocks that are getting flagged as unassigned? So take a look at your district window down here. You always want to make sure that those are set to 0, and we're okay in my case. Number 2, are all of your district's borders touching? AKA, are there no little islands unconnected by a road or another block? I'll give you an example of something that would definitely throw an error. If you were working in District 3 and then you suddenly decided to add a block from District 5, I'm sorry, I said the wrong numbers. If you were working here in District 1 and you suddenly decided to add a block from District 5, they're so far apart, they would not be able to touch, and that would throw up an error. And then number 3, do all of your population numbers add up correctly and fit our 10% deviation rule? And this is where having these little red and green flags for your deviation names can be really, really useful, that deviation coloring there. Once you pass all of the integrity tests, you're almost ready to submit your map to us. But I'm sure you have comments and notes that you're going to want to pass along. So let's take a look how to do that. So if you click on Share in the ribbon, you've got a few options. Under Attach Files, I'll click on that. You'll get a pop-up, and this is where you can upload files. Maybe you've got some notes or some spreadsheets of your own that you want to attach. Let me close this out. Under Information, if you click on that, you can rename your map. So if you've had maybe a dozen tests and you want to rename your map to something more final, go ahead and name it up here. And do keep a note of what you do name your map. If you decide to sign up for a slot to present a map at a public meeting, that map name is going to be important for us so that we can preload it on the meeting monitors for everyone to see. You can also add comments, and your account name will be auto-flagged in the Create By. These additional fields are up to you to fill out. You also, if you don't want to attach comments through Attach Files, you can click on this Comments link here. And you've got the ability to add comments in a very simple form. So this is my map, and I'm going to hit Add. And right there, it's added. And this is just more background information for us so that when the board reviews the map, they have a little bit more context from you. Now, if you want to draw notes on the map itself, you can do that. And that is done back under the Review tab. So if you're wondering what little red shapes do, well, we're going to take a look at them right now. All of these red shapes add notes to the map directly on it. I'm going to click on this little squiggly one here, and this lets me draw freehand shapes on the map. This will not change any geographies. This will not change any of our numbers. This just lets me write on a map, kind of like if it were a whiteboard. Things like this arrow tool you might find useful. The arrow tool, you will click and drag. You can rotate the map around, and once you take your finger off the map button, off your mouse button, it will add it to the map. You can also drop in text right here. So I'm going to put some text in this clear area over here, and I'm switching to my keyboard, and I'm just going to write sample text and hit enter, and there it is in red. Now, these notes can be a little bit tricky. If you want to erase them, you will have to hit clear all. So this is one area where I recommend going slow and putting a little bit of thought in there. Now, as you're working, your map notes might obscure your map a little bit. It might be a little bit hard to work around. Don't worry about that. You can actually hide them. And that's going back to this little arrow here, the far left of the map. This little tiny gray arrow opens up our different layers. And at the very top, we have a map notes layer. And you can just toggle that checkbox on and off. So if you do have map notes, but they're getting in your way, you don't have to clear them. You can just turn them on and off. And I'm going to toggle that panel back. I don't want to look at the map notes anymore, however, so I'm going to hit clear all so you can see what that button does. So at this point, ideally, you have created. Can my notes be a smaller font size? Julie, I'm not sure on that. Let's take a quick look here. I do not see the ability to add a smaller font size. So if you have a lot of commentary for your map, you probably want to go over to the Share tab here and hit Attach Files and maybe add a simple text file that's got some notes. And maybe in your text area here, you could say like A, and then you could create a legend and a text file that you attach. So there's a lot of different ways, whatever kind of works best for you. So at this point, hopefully you have a valid map. I'm going to clear my map notes again because I don't want to look at them. And you are ready to submit it to the board for consideration. You've added your notes, you've added your files, you've renamed the map to what you want it to be called. So clicking Submit in the ribbon gives us just one option. So easy. Going to click on that right now. If you haven't saved yet, it will give you a prompt to save. Do save. And I do recommend throughout your whole process, because you're putting so much time and effort into this, do save often, just in case your internet connection has a little hiccup or anything. If you click yes, it will save your plan and say, yes, the plan has been saved. Press OK to go to the next step. We're going to go through that integrity check again. It's going to validate your map. Remember, you must pass all 7 checks to send the mapping plan to us. Now, I'm throwing errors again, and we don't really have time right now for me to fix up my map. So we're just going to, kind of pretend that it passes. What will happen once you pass all of these checks is that this OK button that is currently grayed out for me because I'm failing, this OK button will become active. It will turn on and become clickable. So you will click that button and you'll get one final button that says Submit Plan. Once you click on that, the mapping plan will be sent to us. Your plan will no longer be able to be edited and it will become public record. So at this point, you're going to be done using the mapping tool. And your next step is going to be going back to orlando.gov/redistricting. Let's go through that process again. This is because we encourage you to present your map at a public meeting. So let me show you where to find that. You're going to scroll down and you're going to go back through the process of giving feedback. So again, click on that button. And again, you're going to skip ahead to step number 3 because you're using the mapping tool. So go ahead and click on that button. Underneath step 5, because at this point you've just completed step 4. Step 5 are instructions for scheduling an appointment to present your map. If you want to present your map, you will have 10 minutes to speak, and we will preload the map for you and get everything ready for you at the public meeting on the monitor. Appointments will be opening up soon, and please keep in mind that you'll need to submit your map and schedule a time to present at least 3 business days before the meeting you want to attend, because this is going to give us time to review your map and get you added to the agenda so that you have your full allotment to speak at. Now, if you don't want to do that full presentation, you can still come to a public meeting and give your public comments. Public comments are 3 minutes long. They're in a specific section of the agenda called public comments. And in this case, you don't need to make an appointment request. Just show up and be ready to speak when it's time. The difference is you're going to have less time to speak and that map won't be preloaded for you. We've covered a lot this evening. I really appreciate everybody coming to watch. Please remember the URL orlando.gov/redistricting. We have loads of information for you here on the process. This is going to be up to date as the process goes. And remember too, we have other different ways in which you can participate. I'm going to open up the floor now to questions. I did already address Julie's question on note sizes for drawing directly on the map. It does not look like you have the ability to change that font size. So if you have a lot to add to the map, I do encourage you to just attach a file that has those details. If anyone else would like to ask a question, Anna is my moderator here. You can ask directly on mic, or you can type in the chat window. Either is fine with us. And just as a reminder for anyone who did come late, we are recording this so that you will be able to view it as your leisure. And if you are the type of person that likes to read a manual, we have a software guide on the Redistricting Hub that you can also go through. And there will be links to Esri's own documentation if you're the type of person that really wants to dig deep. I would say that we've covered probably about 90% of the functionality this evening. So I'm just going to leave the floor open a little bit more, just to give folks time to formulate any questions if they have any. I do hope, though, that by watching this tonight, you are encouraged and emboldened to participate in the redistricting process and to submit your maps for us to consider. Okay, so it is looking like we possibly don't have any questions. As promised, I tried to do this for an hour or less. So again, thank you everyone for your time and patience and participation. Now, how do I get my hands on the manual? That will be on orlando.gov/redistricting. Let me walk you through it right now while I can share my screen. So if you go to orlando.gov/redistricting, again, go through the process to give us feedback. Click on that button. We're going to skip down to using the map tool. That's step number 3, create, submit, and present a map. And now as you look through on this page, because I've kind of glossed through this because there's quite a few steps, right underneath learning about the mapping criteria on step number 2 is a button right there for reading our mapping software guide. If any functionality is being tweaked during the process, we will keep that guide up to date. And thank you, Anna, for linking directly to the software guide. There's a lot of screenshots in there. They might look a little bit different from what we've seen tonight, but our team will be regularly revising that so things look as closely as possible to the software that you will be using. And clicking through for everybody watching, here is what our little guide takes a look looks like. So all of that you can find online. So wonderful. Does anybody else have any other questions? All right, well, I think I am going to wrap things up and give everybody the rest of the evening to enjoy. So again, thank you all very much for your time and participation in Redistricting 2022. Thank you.